Hey guys, welcome to the After Show,
Yep.
J&M Sports Talk. Today we're going to be talking SEC West,
Mm-hmm.
the best division in college football. So, Jonathan, really what we decided to do in this show is to make the best case for and the best case against
Right.
each team that we feel like still has a legitimate shot at winning the SEC West.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to open up though, we decided that I think there's 5 teams that legit are still in this race. Obviously Arkansas's out, unfortunately. Even though they haven't played any conference games, so at least that helps a little. But yeah, things are not looking good in Fayetteville real quick. And then also we just feel like Ole Miss is just kind of just a little behind everyone else in the league. So the 5 teams that we've decided that are still in contention are Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Auburn, LSU, and of course Alabama. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about the Mississippi State, the good old Bulldogs from Sharkville. Give us a reason why they will do well and why they won't do well.
Yeah, so for Mississippi State coming into the season, I mean, it's the
Mhm.
same thing for them. They return the most starters. They've got a lot of experience in key positions. They've got a decent quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's every case for Mississippi State. I mean, they get overlooked. I mean, you mentioned this in one of our review shows, is that, you know, if it was anybody else,
Yep. They'd be
not
top
in,
10.
yeah, they'd be in the top 10. So that's the biggest case for them, is they're under the radar. They've got experience.
Mhm.
They can kind of sneak up on people.
Yeah, they're always one of those that seems like it's us against the world mentality. That, they've done so well for several years there. It took Dak Prescott being there several years for them to get to that top 5 ranking they finally got a few years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, also probably the biggest liability for them though, and why they won't be able to do it is Fitzgerald's passing game. He needs to step up as a passer for them to be successful, and he struggled against really good defenses when it came to pass the ball. He can run for days, and they can run on all day, but can he make that pass when he needs to against some of these better teams? He hasn't been able to in the past, so that's got to change if they want to do well.
Yeah, I mean, I look back to the Georgia game early last year, the Auburn game early last year. You talk about facing Alabama. I mean, those are the games that he's really struggled to pass the ball well. So for me, that's their biggest holdup as
Yep.
well.
All right, cool. So that's Mississippi State. Let's move on to Texas A&M. We were talking about this one too. I think we both decided that their biggest strength could also be the reason why they won't do it as well. And that's just the fact that they're the new kid on the block in a sense. Got Jimbo Fisher. It's his first year. If there's one good positive for it, is the fact that they're slowly still adding wrinkles to their new offense. They're still learning who they are, and they're playing really good ball right now as they're trying to figure that out, which is great for them, which means they can only improve. But at the same time, Mark, you got to think that could be a disadvantage if they start struggling too.
Yeah, and that's just what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're probably the biggest wild card of any of the teams, just because we don't know
Right.
much about how they're going to face the adversity. But what we do know is that they did face up with Clemson in an early season matchup very well,
Right.
and so we think that they have a positive upside. That's why they made the list,
Right.
right? But we are unsure as to when they get down by a couple of scores against an Alabama or an LSU, are they going to continue to play, or are they just going to get beat?
That's a good point too. But keep in mind, they showed up and they gave Clemson a game at Kyle Field too. So if they were to have some of these slip ups and hiccups moving forward, 4 out of their big 5 games that we have down they got to play Bama, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Auburn, and LSU. LSU is the last game of the season that they play at home. All those other opponents are on the road, and Bama's a hostile environment. You don't want the sandstorm getting going in South Carolina. You don't want those cowbells ringing in Mississippi State, and we know the tempo of the jungle can be in Auburn. So if they struggle on the road in those environments, that could be really bad for them. But
Yeah, and Jimbo Fisher, just ask FSU fans what type of coach he is. I mean, he's a
Right.
pretty good coach.
Yeah.
So they've definitely been coached well during the off season. But yeah, those are difficult places to play,
Yep.
for sure.
All right, so moving on. Next, we're going to talk about our Auburn Tigers. They suffered a tough loss this week at home, but we still feel like they still have potential there. I mean, they did it last year, right? So give me a reason why they will do better, that they can still do well this year.
Yeah, for Auburn, I mean, yes, they lost to LSU this week, but they've got Arkansas, who's going to have a down year. They've already had a down year, so that's a winnable game. Then you get Southern Miss. Then you've got the Mississippi schools. There's some time. You get a bye week. There's some time for Auburn to really gain confidence
Right.
and to really rebound. And they've got their two tough games at the end of the year, Georgia and Alabama on the road, but they've got the time to gain the momentum. That's the
Right.
biggest case for Auburn.
Yeah, I'd say another one is that in their O line. I think probably they found their identity in that tough LSU team, like you mentioned in our recap show from this week. Yeah, they have the most, I think, to improve in an area that's really going to help them move forward. They're finding their identity on the offensive line is huge for their run game and being that Auburn team you expect them to be. So I think they might have the most upside of any team that can make those improvements. But one of the biggest hurdles for them to be able to do this is you talk about them at the very end, having Georgia and Alabama on the road. That's daunting to ask anyone to play one of those teams on the road, much less both of them in a 3-week period. But I'll throw another wrinkle out there for them. They have Texas A&M at home this year. Some people might think, oh, it's a tough one, but oh, it's just Texas A&M. You have it at home at least. Well, since A&M has come into the SEC, the road team has won every game in that matchup.
Yeah.
So they have to stop a trend in that way in that matchup too for them to be able to run the table. So those are definitely some good reasons why they will and won't do. We'll find out. It's gonna be exciting. But let's move on to the Tigers that won this weekend in LSU. Give me a reason why they're gonna do well moving forward.
So for LSU, I mean, their defense. I mean, White at linebacker. I mean, they've got to have one of the best defenses in college football. So that's definitely a reason for them. Getting that Auburn victory will do numbers for their confidence. So that's a reason for them compete in the SEC West.
All right, so another one. The reason why I don't think they'll run the table though is they've got a difficult schedule, especially moving forward. Like we'll find out a lot the next few weeks. They've got to go to Gainesville. They're the only team in the West besides Auburn that has to play Georgia. So they have to play Georgia. At least they have that at home. But then they turn around and play Mississippi State the week later, and then they got a bye, and then they have Bama. So they've got 4 tough games back to back to back, pretty much in a 5-week period. That's gonna be very difficult for anybody to do.
Yeah, I think with the exception of Auburn, I mean Auburn and LSU, both of their schedules are just daunting.
They are,
for sure. So I mean LSU having that first hurdle though completed against Auburn should do numbers for their confidence and the ability to compete. They also get that bye week before Alabama.
Right.
I don't think anybody. We could check the schedules, but I don't think anybody else has a bye week before they play Alabama.
Right.
So I mean that's theoretically one of the best team, right, in the country.
Auburn's a close second. They got Liberty the week before. Alabama plays to nobody as well. But that's at the end of the year too. So not say anything bad about the Liberty Flames, but that's as close as you're gonna get to a bye without getting an actual bye. But yeah, again, like you said, byes right before that. That's gonna be a huge matchup. And if LSU gets through that schedule that I mentioned, and Bama stays unscathed, that's going to be a top 5 matchup at home for LSU. So that's going to be big emotions running. They're going to be playing the last couple times they played as top 5 teams. There's been some amazing matchups between the two of them. So that's something to look forward to if they keep playing well.
Right.
All right, so now we talked about LSU, and then, of course, we got to talk about Alabama. So they're not the defending SEC West champs, but they are the defending national co-champs. So how do you see they're going to do the rest of the year?
Well, I mean, they get all those teams with the exception of LSU, like you said. They get them at home.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something in favor. The scheduling, I think, is probably one of the biggest things in favor of Alabama.
Right.
And honestly, they probably have the best quarterback in college football in Tua. I mean, he's been on fire. So I mean, that's the case in favor of. Just real quick, the case against Alabama is probably the inexperience. We saw last year some of the games when they had guys beat up and they had the young, inexperienced guys in there. they really struggled.
They did.
So I mean that's a possible case against them. What do you think?
I agree. And then there's still this. Tua is definitely playing the best ball right now, but he's still inexperienced.
He's inexperienced, yeah.
He has not been challenged by a good defense. I mean, the reason why we thought Ole Miss was going to be a game for them was because we thought little of their defense struggling against Ole Miss's offense as well, and the fact that they weren't even showing up, he still didn't face a decent defense. So I mean, Ole Miss they've got some things working, but defense is not one of them right now. So he's still not been challenged. So until he's challenged, he's going to continue to play great ball. But when he is challenged, that's where we'll find out how good he really is. So there's still that side of inexperience for Tua as well. So with all this being said, who wins the SEC West, Mark?
Well, I think it really comes down to two teams. I mean, it's got to be LSU and Alabama. It's probably going to come down to that showdown when they face each other. For me, if I have to make a pick today, I'm going to stick with my original pick in the preseason. Stick with Alabama just because of Tua at quarterback. I think he is inexperienced, but he's just got the most talent.
Right.
And Joe Burrow, I just don't see him being able to navigate that Alabama defense too well. So I'm going to pick Alabama.
Yeah, that one's such a tough one that, that's going to come down to that game's going to be big. But, I think since it's at home, I think LSU is going to pull that game off and going to continue around the table, and then they're going to slip up somewhere else. I feel like they're going to slip up.
Georgia game, maybe?
Yeah, I think they're going to lose. They're going to get that loss before then. So I think it's going to be a 2, maybe 3-team tie and come down to the rankings between LSU, Auburn, and Alabama. I think it's gonna be a crazy finish because that's exactly how SEC does things, not straight up. It's like it's gonna be one madness, and we're gonna get 2 random teams in the playoff for the first time ever.
Well, I think as a college football fan, that would be an exciting thing to see, and I would love to see that. Hopefully, our viewers do too.
Yeah.
The SEC West, hands down, best conference in college football, best division. Should be exciting to see that play out.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you later.